Let's get straight to the point. If you've existed at all in the last 3 years, you've heard of Poppy Playtime. This game polluted YouTube homepages, was the foundation of Elsa Gate's Second Wind, signed a movie deal for what was essentially a 30-minute playable trailer, and even caught mainstream news outlets' attentions.
Is this real?
Your mom might know about Poppy Playtime. It seems like every year there's at least one game that really pops off out into the stratosphere, and for 2021, of course that's Poppy Playtime. It has all the trademarks of a memorable mascot horror game. Funny guy to go on the Steam page? Check. Horror setting where lovable family-friendly creatures all of a sudden want to kill you? Check. What about having really complicated lore? Can't have a mascot horror game without 5 quintillion secrets. And don't worry, because Poppy Playtime has you covered. Due to the apparent quality, at least on the surface, Poppy Playtime felt like something new, something fresh. Everyone loved it, and when Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 released, the internet exploded with a resounding, "Oh yeah." I had completely forgotten about the existence of Poppy Playtime because a certain other mascot horror game dropped in. Upon contact with the ground, immediately choked up 7 sequels. Garten of Banban single-handedly saturated an entire genre, to the point where if you poked it with a stick, a disgusting green film would creep up your arm and assimilate you into the Banban Nation. Hey man, if it works, it works. Now that wouldn't be so bad if Garten of Banban wasn't just completely derivative of Poppy Playtime in every conceivable way. It's like they say, whenever there's a Huggy to Wuggy, there's always a Banban to steal my credit card information. I never played Poppy Playtime, so that one time I referenced it in a video I made like a year ago. Please don't look at my old content. That was actually me hating on a game I've never played before, something I never do, ever. But with the recent chapter releasing and Poppy Playtime picking up relevance again, I thought it was time to make a video on it. Because A, I'm a little grubby, wriggly content creator that's trying to leech off of any kind of relevance he can. And B, because Poppy Playtime has a surprisingly deep history. And I would like to be your guys' tour guide through that because it's pretty interesting. But more so than anything, finally get to the bottom of why this little guy that likes to watch me sleep stands over my bed at night. So into Poppy Playtime we dive and hope that just maybe our smothered standards aren't too far gone. Poppy Playtime Chapter 1, released on October 12th, 2021. And given the unusual level of polish and quality, as well as how it perfectly uses the mascot horror game formula, it went well.
The release was colossal. To put things into perspective, the announcement for Chapter 2 currently sits at 60 million views. That's a quarter of a Mr. Beast video, and a tenth of a Pig video. Please subscribe.
The thrilling adventure kicks off with a call to action to go order a plethora of catnap plushies. And upon hitting play, we're introduced to the company and their most proud product, Poppy. She's a real girl. Following the VHS introduction is a far more foreboding screen, prompting the player to go and find the flower. And after that, we end this. Here we have our first exposure to the Playtime Co. company building / orphanage / factory / whatever else there's going to be. And through this tape, we can learn that we are not welcome. Yippee. The game wastes no time introducing us to the game's premier mechanic, the grab pack. I love the grab pack. I think it is so cool both conceptually and in execution. And it's unique and original, I think. By pulling the trigger, you fire out a grabby hand that can be used to grab handles, hoist yourself into the air, reroute electricity, open doors, and, of course, soft-lock yourself. After using the grab pack to open this door, we expose ourselves to the guy, the poster boy of Poppy Playtime in all his jolly huggy goodness. Huggy Wuggy. He'll squeeze you until you pop. You won't notice this on your first playthrough, but if you look close enough, you can very faintly see Huggy's chest rise and fall. He's also a little bit tubby. Wow, you're just like me, for real, for real. I think this introductory room is great with the lighting filtering in through only 2 windows, a trick they did by putting a giant square outside. It creates such a deep and moody look. I love it. The puzzles in Chapter 1 are pretty bare bones and virtually non-existent, most of which using the grab pack to route electricity, and we get our first look at that here. This puzzle serves two purposes: to expose you to the grab pack's features, and to make it so Huggy Wuggy can despawn without you seeing him. But not me though. I downloaded Unreal Engine 4 Unlocker to make a YouTube video. Huggy is gone, having horrible implications for your life expectancy. Now, he can be around any corner with a big smile plastered across his stupid blue face. Now believe me, I really don't like to keep bringing up the game that will not be named for comparison, because at what point does it just become annoying? But hey, look at this bit where Opium Bird slowly retracts her head behind a door. Wonder where that came from. The next puzzle is less of a puzzle and more of a scavenger hunt, yay! Where you scour the room for power cells in order to get yourself a red hand. Here's an artist's rendition of my reaction to getting a red hand. Now, I need to mention something before we continue. The tapes. Hidden throughout the building are tapes that you can play on these little TVs. If it seems like I'm skipping over them, don't worry, I'll bring them up later when they become relevant. If they become relevant. Or if a funny YouTube man makes an appearance, I'll mention them too. Is that who let me hear say something, you Irish bastard. Yeah! Why is Huggy looking at me like that? Huggy appears in a vent, giving the player a beautiful smile. Inside the vent, ouch. And once you get all the power cells and use the claw to grab the red hand, through the utilization of the red hand, you can get into the next puzzle area, which normally I wouldn't highlight because it's nothing special, but I feel obligated to because I got stuck here for like 5 minutes on my original live playthrough, and I won't allow myself to live it down. It is my sworn duty to bear this cross. The last puzzle in this game is definitely more involved, but all things considered, seriously, nothing special. We fire up this big machine and build our own cat bee, who is absolutely precious, by the way. Unfortunately, just after crossing paths, we must part ways with our cat bee in order to get through this door. But don't worry, once you get through here, you're perfectly... Oh yeah, Huggy Wuggy makes his first appearance as an active threat, and I can't be the first to mention how nicely animated this dude is. Like, look at how he bends down to get through here. And more so the vent chase. While the rest of Chapter 1 is admittedly pretty bare bones and empty, there is a legitimately solid section towards the end where Huggy Wuggy frantically chases you down through these conveyors. It's cramped, it's dark, and the only thing you can hear are the sounds of Huggy's frantic footsteps as he closes the distance. If someone 3 years ago asked me what made Poppy Playtime stand out from all the other indie horror schlock, I would definitely point to this sequence. This isn't just some easy follow the path and get out either. The vents are full of twists and turns. Hesitating for just a second too long will no doubt result in your life support being unplugged by Huggy Wuggy, so that he now can plug in his DSi and play Yoshi's Island DS. Huggy wins 100 times out of 10, but fortunately for you, he has a losing matchup against Box, which you can utilize to sabotage his plans of making it far in that one super annoying flight minigame. If you use dev tools, you can actually go down into the void and see Huggy, who even in death decides to style on you by doing this sick Tony Hawk Pro Skater move. Also with dev tools, you can see this lemon. Not really sure why there's a lemon, but that's a lemon. The remaining 2 minutes of the game are snore. Go walk through this big area that makes me feel like a puny 5'10" preschooler, and hey look, it's Poppy Playtime from Poppy Playtime. I'm not insecure about my height, shut up. She states the obvious and credits roll. Nice. What a fun 35 minutes. I think I'll go take a look at the link to the merch store that's put right next to the play button on the title screen. God, he's so stupid. Poppy Playtime, similar to other games of its kind, like Five Nights at Freddy's or Bendy and the Ink Machine, owes a lot of its success in part to the massive content creation scene that's still going strong for these kinds of games. If you can get some of the bigger names to play your game, chances are the future is going to look good for you. But sometimes game companies aren't always prepared to handle immediate success. Sometimes that instant success at the beginning, as ludicrous as this may sound, can do more harm than good. And in the case of Poppy Playtime, their way of instantly trying to monetize the hell out of a 35-minute experience really rubbed people the wrong way. Immediately following the nuclear success, there came merch. A lot of merch. Some might even call it overpriced merch. Now, merch by itself isn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, they're a great way for IPs and companies and just artists in general to make money off of their own art. But there's a line to be drawn here. When you know that your audience consists mainly of literal babies, there's an argument to be made about the morality of selling Huggy Wuggy 3 different times, with the only difference being a size difference. And also, Huggy Wuggy but pink. Again, there's nothing wrong with merch. It's just that having the merch store right next to the play button on the title screen makes me think that from the beginning they were planning on selling out and not to make a good video game, just a profitable one. To give them credit though, they didn't charge $10 for a sticker, and for that I'm proud. Now that I think about it, this has to be the single most profitable game idea I've ever thought of. Use a concept that's largely targeted towards children, in this case it's mascot horror. Make all the enemies toys so that selling toys and plushies are a given. And profit. For bonus points, you can make a gender-bent version of the main guy. That's just him, but pink. That way you don't have to waste extra time or resources making new stuff. But the merch isn't the only thing that people, including myself, found concerning. It was announced on April 27th of 2022, 6 months after the 35-minute tech demo was released, that a full movie was going to be made for Poppy Playtime. Keep in mind, this was before Chapter 2 was out for the public. So that's pretty concerning, but neither of those things came even remotely close to the backlash that transpired after what happened on December of 2021. The same year Chapter 1 came out, they decided it would be a great idea to announce Poppy Playtime NFTs.
Are you okay?
NFT hate was at a roaring height at the start of 2022, so it is genuinely mind-boggling that anyone at Mob Games thought that this would go over well.
But you too, for the low price of 15 shmackaroonies.
Which was 3 times the price of Chapter 1 at the time. Yes, this game used to cost $5.
You too can get a PNG of Kissy Missy. But wait, that's not all. With your purchase, you can also get a video recording that
definitely won't inevitably end up on some forum that's free to use.
Ladies and gents, this deal is so hot that I appear to be on fire. Don't miss out. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Well, what's so important about this secret recording, you may ask? Well, the secret code, the legendary Pokemon you get after collecting every image is just Mommy Longlegs is coming. So that's $90 well spent. If anybody doesn't know anything about NFTs, allow me to dive into my outrageously shallow pool of knowledge on the topic to trudge up and spit onto your dinner plate. NFTs are digital collectibles that supposedly can never be replicated, giving them an inherent value. Think of them as like digital trading cards. Like this NFT that someone paid millions of dosh for, that I now have by pressing the download button. One of the reasons that NFTs are so despised is because to be created they take a ton of computing power, which in turn gobbles up a lot of power and electricity. According to this website that I have pulled up here, Unicorn Ultra is my source, creating one NFT on the Ethereum platform eats up enough power to power a house for 9 whole days. Another reason why people despise NFTs is the whole NFT bro thing that spawned on Twitter or X recently. They probably use Reddit too, and not the base subreddits like r/fishing or r/pottery, or most importantly, r/carpentry. This is a beautiful deck. This controversy would actually warrant an official response from Zach Belanger, CEO of Mob Games. TLDR, we did an oopsie, NFT bad, please buy a Huggy Wuggy poster. Somehow that's not even the worst of the criticism and controversy around this time, but we've taken enough of a detour, so let's get right back into the meat of the matter. Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. Like Chapter 1, this chapter starts off with a neat little VHS tape. This one looks like a commercial featuring Mommy Longlegs. It starts off with her in some kind of warehouse, I think, I can actually tell, reaching out for you. There's also this totally unimportant clawed hand in the shadows. I really love how they use these tapes as intros to the chapters. It's such a fun and creative way to tease the death and dismemberment that is to come. As you can tell, Mommy Longlegs stretches real good. And I also love these 2 animations that we'll later see in gameplay. Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 can be characterized by the following attributes: the schwangen, the cardboard cutouts, electricity routing puzzles that actually require effort, new enemies that aren't just a single 1-minute chase sequence, and of course, Mommy. Our first location of note is this office, containing a trophy. Let's go, useless collectibles! Some blueprints for a love bug toy, drawings of the characters including this one with the girl dancing with Kissy Missy, This one addressed to Elliot Ludwig, and this one of a really happy Huggy, as well as a tape and a note. The note details an experiment done with a rat in an attempt to revive it, using a poppy flower and preservative gel. After getting nice and marinated, the dead rat was then tased, which did not bring the rat back to life, unfortunately. The writer, presumably Elliot Ludwig, still firmly believes that he can make some kind of miracle procedure using the poppy flower, and speculates that testing on something larger might produce a different result. Something larger, like Huggy or Mommy? Or, as explained by the tape, Elliot Ludwig is the founder of Playtime Co., a man that grinded so hard, his wife left him. Oh hey look, it's Poppy! Hi Poppy! Poppy? And now, the only friendly face you've ever encountered since the moment you've entered this forsaken facility is now kidnapped at best and unalived at worst. You're free to jump down a hole, normalize using giant silly slides in the place of elevators and downwards escalators. Then we get our first look at our main antagonist of Chapter 2. She yoinks my hand and, well, it was nice while it lasted. Mommy Longlegs is far more calculated and methodical than Huggy Wuggy. And given how she can just kill you whenever she really feels like it, that makes her at least twice the threat that Huggy was. From her, we're given our main goal, to get the codes to activate the train and flee the facility. Also, Kissy Missy's cardboard cutout has the most adorable lines. In order to get the train up and running, we have to complete 3 tests. Each test designed to gauge a child's capabilities. The first one involves Bunzo, the cymbal-clanging bunny that definitely went on an awesome Easter egg hunt that ended with him rotting in some kind of basement area on the premises of Playtime Co. He even knows when my birthday is. Which is wrong. My birthday is on the 6th of March, which... oh god, I'm gonna be 21 soon. Like this video if you are ceaselessly mortified by the unstoppable march of time. The birthday he does give is actually Markiplier's birthday, and, you know, I don't blame them for putting that in. Like, if I knew Markiplier was going to play my game, of course I'd mess with him, at least a little bit.
You just have a nap. You just stay down there.
Happy birthday to anyone watching this whose birthday is today. I hope your hand gets held by Mommy Longlegs on this very special day. Speaking of hands, we aren't getting ours back, so instead we'll have to build our own through the use of this handy machine. That thing's green. Green! Green hand is functionally the same as the red hand, but with the added benefit of being able to hold a charge. So not only does this chapter gradually expand on the same puzzles from the previous, but it also slowly adds new variables that challenge but don't blindside the player. This is how you design puzzles, iterating on the stuff the player already knows while gradually ramping up the complexity. Very tasty. After that, we can put Bunzo the bunny on his stupid yellow forehead and proceed to musical memory. Here to test how quickly and efficiently your mind brain works, with Bunzo, here to clap you between his cymbals if you take too long. Mommy is also here to watch it all happen. Bunzo is designed after those cymbal clapping monkeys, and somehow the horror game enemy is significantly less scary than the real life toy sold to kids. Seriously, who saw this and thought it would be a good Christmas present for little Timmy? Bunzo, as he descends, gets more and more excited, clapping his cymbals faster and faster as a gentle reminder of your imminent demise. Also, is it just me, or does it kind of look like he launches the cymbals from his palms? Going free cam, you can actually see his method of killing you is more of a downwards crush than anything else, which I think is pretty silly. But that's okay though, as long as your memory is more capable than that of a blade of grass, you should be able to solve this without issue. Things start getting a little more complex when new colors start popping up like violet or orange. Or J. Or massacre. The machine completely malfunctions and you can abort it with the click of this button. Mommy won't be pleased that you're still alive, but she holds on to her end of the deal and gives you a third of the code. Following this, you'll hear the distant sound of Mommy throttling Bunzo out of rage. And if we go free cam, yep, poor guy. Actually, pretty much anytime you see Mommy's extended hand, you better believe that somewhere on the map there is a T-posing Mommy Longlegs. Following this is a vent section that leads into a room of discontinued toys. Why do they call it oven when you oven the cold food, of out hot eat the food? Then there's Brawn, the joking dinosaur, We love Braun. There's also this Toilet Time Freddy Fazbear, Kick Me Paul, whom I want to personally subject to the fiery pits of hell. Barrel Wuggies, Surprise Hair, this cursed flower thing, and this Huggy Wuggy toy that, when grabbed, snatched my left hand and ascended to the heavens, completely soft-locking my game because I not only lost my left hand, but couldn't use my right hand either. Why does this feel so deserved? Then there's this tape, which I think is pretty funny because the only visual to go along with it is Poopy Fazbear sitting on the toilet, all the while staring longingly into my eyes. This has got to be either the weirdest act of coercion or assertion of dominance I've ever seen. When we return to the train station, we can find our good old pal Bunzo strung up in cobwebs. Man, I'm gonna miss that guy. So sad that he died. Again. Next up is Wacka Wuggy, designed to test your reflexes through an onslaught of adorable baby Wuggies. Mommy mentions that the Wuggies used to be attached to strings to pull them away if they got too close to the children. Which begs the question, were these guys from the get-go programmed with murderous intent? I feel like if the Huggies got too close, they could just hug the children, you know, as a signifier that they lost. I guess keeping your Rottweiler on a harness in the backyard is much simpler than actually raising it and training it to be sociable, so fair enough. Wacka Wuggy is exactly as it seems. A Wuggy appears in your peripherals, you give him a tender pat on the nog, and $11,000 of credit card debt. If you don't do this, he will get very excited and rip your head off, letting your blood spill all over the sand in the chamber, so that the Huggies can all lap it up like thirsty dogs. Before attacking, they'll pause at the end of their pipe and give a little snarl. Then once complete, there comes another code snippet and another T-posing mommy. Following this is an awesome cardboard cutout with an awesome guy. Just look at him.
Are you okay? You okay?
I would die for him. Then we get a short but still important event involving Huggy, with the same siren that sounded when you saw him last. But wait, that's not Huggy. Kissy and Missy appears and curiously observes you before opening the gate and dusting you. I want to mention again how well these guys are animated. It looks like these two don't have full control over their limbs. Huggy kneeling underneath the arch, for example, where he dragged his limp arms to get under. And here with Kissy, where she struggles to get it up. It's almost like they don't even know how to fully control their bodies. At least not in the same way that a functional human adult can. And I think that's conveyed very well. The next room is the most important room in the whole series, where an Irish internet funny man reports something disturbing that he saw during his time working for Playtime Co. before becoming a full-time Irishman and part-time YouTuber. This is canon, by the way. I'm sorry to break it to you all, but Barry the Minecart dies in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. How will the cult react to this one? Similar to Bunzo, the Wuglings can be found strung up, each completely T-posing while looking down at us filthy sinners. From this viewpoint so high and divine, I too can understand why they spit on our filthy shoes. The next game is Statues with PJ Pugapillar. When the lights are off, run for the end. When the lights are on, stop. The whole time, this adorable little puppy doggy will be following you. Mommy tells me that I personally deserve to die alone, which, thanks mommy. And then we get started. PJ chases you through an obstacle course, which can get a bit stressful, especially when you get to see the good boy slowly chip away at your own progress. Here's a word of advice. Don't go into the hard tunnel. He can, and he will, clip through the wall to game end you. To escape, you must break through this window and fall down this hole. Mommy must have been tabbed out promoting shady cryptocurrencies to desperate single mothers because she has no idea where you went off to. This maze had no end. By design, this room was supposed to be your coffin, your tomb, the final test that you weren't supposed to beat. So you made up your own rule and went somewhere that they couldn't follow. Mommy tries to lure you back with the promise that you won, becoming more unhinged as time passes without an answer. Then there's the water treatment zone, which is incredibly simple, but despite being incredibly simple, I had a brain bleed at that time, and it took me like 5 minutes. Then we see the cat bee cut out, which is glorious and adorable in every way. This is the Bunzo manufacturing line, where you route these adorable Bunzo toys into your own sweet and loving arms. I didn't want to settle with one, so instead I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74. 74. Believe me, I would have loved to invade Belarus with an army of bonzos, but they kept falling out of my cart, so I settled to leave them as the bonzo mound, surely plotting to consume my insides and puppet my flesh like a real-life Michael Afton. The red tape is a weird tape about mommy, where this guy dismisses the rumors of a giant spider monster. Did nobody get the memo that they created a giant spider monster? This room is inaccessible, but if we use dev tools to fly through, we can find some kind of hospital or laboratory chamber, confirming that Playtime Co. is certifiably up to no good. Mommy gets the drop on us and effortlessly breaks a pipe, which is pretty cool, honestly. And throughout this whole interaction, she twitches and shakes. They did a good job conveying this emotion being endless, seething hatred. And now she wants to play hide and seek, giving you 10 seconds to run before she does that. While running, we get to see the greatest candy cat mural I've ever seen, and we also have to solve puzzles that involve us grappling up to the ceiling. Remember this area, because it's the only safe hiding place from mommy, who could be around any corner, such as that one. The next puzzle involves you making a gear that opens a door, with mommy ready to jump you the second you make any progress. The second and last hiding place is the furnace. Obviously, she's not going to follow you in there. Something I need to point out is that mommy seems to have the ability to produce webs, which shouldn't come as that much of a shock since she's supposed to be a spider and all that, but I never would have guessed she had the facilities for that, you know? Where does it come from? She attacks you soon after again, this time blocking all your exits with webs and cave-ins, now reaching out to you through multiple pipe entrances. Yeah, they did a phenomenal job making her seem like an active threat with this one, like, not active, what's the word I'm looking for? They make her look like she's a powerful, almost supernatural threat with all the grabby hands that she's got. I'm sure they were going for the illusion that mommy herself was like reaching around to try and cut you off, but you already know what's on the other end of those hands. And just when you think you got away, mommy appears one last time at the end of this long hallway, making a mad dash at you. And obviously, we all know what happens next. Come on, this is like the most memed on scene in the series. Kudos to the voice actress, by the way. The pair of lungs you have to make a... can't go underappreciated. I'd even go as far as to compare it to that one funny femur breaker scream. Okay, maybe not that far, but same energy. And when mommy is paralyzed from the waist down and up, a large skeletal metallic hand appears and pulls her remains toward itself, leaving you wondering what just happened. That is the prototype. You know how every mascot horror game has the main guy to be the face of everything, and then there's an even worse guy that's in the secrets and in the lore and all that, like Golden Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's, or the Shadow Guy from Neighbor Hello, or Doug the security guard who is secretly Tattletale's dad. Aunt May dies. The only information you need to know right now is that the prototype is Poppy Playtime's Golden Freddy. It was initially mentioned in the suspended bridge area at the end of Chapter 1. The prototype is referred to as Experiment 1006, as narrated by a man with a hushed voice. He also mentions something about today's events being in relation to the prototype. Narrator guy seems to be getting hunted as he talks, as clanging sounds can be heard in the background.
Any future experiments will need to be contained and disposed of in a secure location.
Something is trying to get in. The tape ending with whatever it is trying to predate him, brute forcing its way in. Before ending though, he says this one line, one breakthrough, and I'll be back. Implying that even if he dies, maybe through that aforementioned Poppy solution or by a different means, he's confident that the people at Playtime Co. will be able to bring him back, that this won't be his end. In Chapter 2, it's stated that by disassembling a digital alarm clock, The prototype was able to create a laser pointer to shine into the camera, monitoring his containment, allowing him to hide in one of the camera's blind spots, tricking the Playtime co-staff into thinking that he had breached containment. A member of staff went in to check, but when the prototype made a move for the door, another member of staff sealed it, preventing both the prototype and the first staff member's escape. Ascertainably to have her guts and organs painted all across the wall of the cell, like some kind of beautiful watercolor painting. How wholesome. This is also as good a time as any to mention that Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 has been out for almost 2 years now and still doesn't have subtitles, even though both 1 and 3 do. Poppy, with her cold heart and mean attitude, asks, and with the final piece of the train code, you board the train and get out of there. And I got softlock again. Yeah, don't touch the fan. Poppy talks about her plans to use you to change the course of history. Something goes wrong and you're forced to stop the train. Unfortunately, the tracks must have been made with driftwood and saliva because braking peeled them up and got you into a fatal crash, ending the entire Poppy Playtime story in a fiery train crash. Not if you got softlock though. Then you'll have to reload the game and redo the funny thing with mommy. And with that, we officially made it to Playcare, the destination for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. It was around the time of Chapter 2's release that the aforementioned controversies really started to catch up with the game, as well as a few new ones. The most damaging, though, being from an individual named EKR Coaster, or Ecker Coaster. I think it's EKR Coaster because it's stated like that in the extras room in one of his games. But before we look at the content of these allegations, first I want to paint a picture of who we're talking about. In 2014, a channel named Enchanted Mob uploaded their first video to YouTube. It was a simple Minecraft animation that served as the channel introduction. God, I miss wasting time as a kid just watching Minecraft content on YouTube. It definitely didn't skew my development at all. It wasn't for another 15 uploads that the channel metaphorically struck diamonds, when the guys at Enchanted Mob realized that if you put the funny top hat bear in your video, you're going to be met with ludicrous success. I don't think there has ever been or ever will be a game that hits the internet even close to as hard as Five Nights at Freddy's did. For the iPad kiddies in the audience, Five Nights at Freddy's was the Among Us of 2014. That was 10 years ago. Anyways, this is what the channel archetype would become. There's a famous or popular or trendy game, they make an animation on it. This includes games like Undertale or Doki Doki Literature Club, or Baldi's Basics, or Squid Game. I suppose that technically counts as a famous game. Now, why is any of this even relevant, you may ask? Well, that's because Zach Belanger and Seth Belanger, the masterminds behind Enchanted Mob, are also the creators of Poppy Playtime. Imagine making an entire $1 million game franchise for the sole purpose of having your OC make out with Toy Chica. You physically cannot get any more real than that. But unfortunately, this isn't just a wholesome little origin story about two talented creators who broke the mold and branched out to make something greater. No. Unfortunately, they did a little bit of trolling, a little stinky behavior, which we'll talk about right now. EKR Coaster was a huge fan of Enchanted Mob, and he drew inspiration from them with similar character designs and the same Minecrafty style. It would seem, though, that the feelings between them weren't mutual. Our boys at Enchanted Mob would bully, threaten, harass, and be overall big fat meanies to our boy Coaster. The first sign of danger appeared in Discord DMs. As we're all aware, Discord DMs are one of the most holy places known to man, so to have the sanctity of Discord stripped like this is truly a shocker. Coaster speaks with Zach Belanger and they discuss a business proposition, discussing it while Coaster is on a live stream. 20 minutes, I might still be live. End the stream then, smile. Okay, smile. Smile. Like 15 minutes? I can, but this meeting is more important than your stream. Please keep that in mind. Okay, so devil's advocate here. If we ignore the blatant disrespect of Coaster's time, we don't know exactly how long the passage of time between these messages were. It very well could have been the 20 minutes that Coaster agreed to. When he got into the call, Coaster alleges it was basically them pressuring a 15-year-old into abandoning his own channel and starting work on a channel called 3A Display. Another channel that... How are there so many of these? Before I go on, I feel the need to mention that a lot of the things covered here are mostly alleged. with only the screenshots to count as evidence. And some of the people in these screenshots were minors, like Seth Belanger, who is 23 years old today, would have been around 17 in 2018 when these screenshots supposedly took place. They're all basically children is what I'm trying to say with this bit. They made jokes about Coaster's broken monitor, said he was trash at animating and that he should quit, and made tasteful jokes about shooting him too. The ironclad rebuttal being, "It was joke. Lol." Now me personally, I'm not too impartial to mean-spirited edgy jokes, right? But there's a distinction to be drawn between someone who tells their close friend to game end themselves because they got knocked out in a video game, and vaguely threatening, what should I call this, a coworker? A coworker who did not consent to this type of joke and is clearly uncomfortable with it. Coaster states in his document that he had always had that line drawn, but people would continually cross it and disregard him. This escalated to July 2nd when Coaster would notice a familiar song used in the outro of their Benny and the Ink Machine video. The song Plain Truth by Gunnar Olsen played at the end of Build Our Machine, the same one that EKR Coaster has been using for 2 years. So here I am on the end of Enchanted Mom's Build Our Machine. Let's take a look at the outro song. Alright, cool. Now let's take a look at the end of this Minecraft animation published by AKR Coaster. Seems pretty familiar, huh? Let's look at the video's publication date, huh? 7 years ago. Nice. Let's see when this one came out. It felt appropriate somehow. Hehe. If these screenshots are genuine, the following conversation shines a glaring spotlight on how much Zach Belanger openly hates EKR Coaster, gaslighting him and just being outwardly spiteful. I've been using as my outro for 2 years. Oh really, must be a coincidence. Hehe. Surely you've seen my animations before. Which one? You told me you watched them all. Most of them, yeah. Then you've heard that outro before. I don't watch outros, I click off as soon as the video is over. But if it is there, you must have copied us, ... At this point, Zach Belanger just starts toying with Coaster and playing stupid. We didn't know you used it! Hehe. You don't think we're copying you, do you? No, you're too good for that, ... Oh well good then, why are you upset? You're trying to make me upset. No, I'm not, we like that song, it's gonna be our outro from now on. Everyone in my Discord is agreeing with me. 9-year-olds, who cares? You should stop using our song though, ... Seriously, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I'm sorry that you're upset. He really hit him with the spell check to I'm sorry you feel that way combo. It's over! But if you hadn't copied our outro song, this wouldn't have happened, ... The semantic games continue for a minute until eventually being dropped by both parties, and then picked up again later with Zach reigniting the conversation. Stop being mean to Enchanted Mob. I told him not to do that Sins video. First you copy our outro song, now this. Facepalm. Plural. Hehe. Which of your videos do you want them to sin next? Maybe none of them, please. For context, the people at Enchanted Mob also ran a YouTube channel called Animation Sins. A CinemaSins style channel with a focus on animations. And you would never believe who a recurring target for this channel might be. The EKR Coaster critiques were known for being far more brutal and unnecessary than others. And though these videos were eventually pulled from the platform, re-uploads still exist if you want to judge for yourself how unbiased and warranted these critiques are. Not even a minute into the video, and EKR Coaster's Build Our Machine animation has 64 sins. Criticism is critical for any artist that wants to improve their craft. But these videos on EKR Coaster's animations aren't criticism, they're mockery. In the beginning, we can see that he wanted his videos on animation sins, but after seeing to what extent they'd mock his work, he decided he wanted no more. But our boys at Enchanted Mob were simply too good to listen to him. The following is an obnoxious account between EKR Coaster and Seth Belanger, where Coaster asks if the Animation Sins team can simply leave him alone. Seth, however, simply doesn't understand how publicly slandering someone in a slew of weirdly personal videos, nitpicking their work and attacking their skills as an artist, is at all different from what criticism means. Certainly the people that saw the Sins video aren't going to come and harass and bully Coaster with the same non-points that are in the video. People wouldn't do that. I will double, triple, and even quadruple down on my right to say that I very personally hate you, and I'm disguising it as something positive. Giving us golden quotes such as, "So our eyes are correct," and "You are the only one who complains," and my personal favorite, take our advice from it instead of getting easily offended. To put it simply, I don't want to listen to you. Stop complaining and let us bully you. Stupid. In summary, the guys at Enchanted Mob were real snollygosters. But the story doesn't end there. You may be asking, Pake, what use does all this information have in a Poppy Playtime video? And to answer that, we have to look into the allegations of plagiarism. According to Coaster, the bullying extended that far. On October 16, 2021, EKR Coaster would publish a series of tweets detailing how he believes Poppy Playtime stole from his own game, Venge, a game that's been released in 2020. With a similar premise, similar game description, similar character designs, and similar cardboard cutouts. I wanted to learn a little bit more about Venge, so I decided to take a look at it myself. Let's complete a little subquest just to compare. Our new journey begins with the commercial advertising the company, and we are already off to a bad start. We get to see our favorite short queen Lucy, as well as a call to action to find people that went missing. Still off to a pretty bad start. We get to Punch using the Go Piss magazine, which is based, and later talk to our hubby about ditching him and spending the rest of our life hunting cryptids in the woods. It's not very clear what you're supposed to do, so just talk to your Pookie Bear and hope he'll be complicit in watching you go end your life early. Also, dude, we're rich. You see this property. We don't need $10,000. Pester him enough and you go to the bicycle minigame. Now, I love the bicycle minigame. This has to be the goofiest, most unnecessary addition to a video game, and that makes me appreciate it 5 billion times more. Also, could we just not wait until morning? Why do we have to go when it's midnight and raining? Cars driving on the left side of the road indicate the game could potentially take place in the land of free healthcare and stab wounds. I will stop making fun of the UK when it stops being funny. Hard cut to a forested area where I presume the Rotnik company once resided. We get an admittedly great jump scare by this guy you probably didn't see when you first got here. He throws your stupid forehead down the pit of shame, and now we end this. I'll say it right offhand, there's much more content in this than there is in Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 and even Chapter 2, which makes it all the more impressive knowing this was made over the span of 2 years by a 15-year-old. Here we start getting into some of the comparisons though, like this big cardboard cutout of Rotnik's mascot Lucy. The cardboard cutout thing was mentioned in Coaster's Twitter thread, but I personally don't think the whole cutout thing is proof of anything. In fact, the same case can be argued that Venge stole the cutout idea from Bendy and the Ink Machine, which released its own first chapter February of 2017. The first thing that you might notice about this big, sprawling facility, besides these little sticky notes guiding you everywhere, is that the puzzles and map design are both pretty rudimentary. This giant octagonal room, for example. So many of these doors are openable, but there's never anything inside of any of the rooms. Which makes me ask, why are these doors openable in the first place? There's a very intentional, surreal feeling to everything here, and surprisingly, even some satire and jokes baked in. Small child, not free. I like not free. I like not specifying how much it is. Just saying, hey, not free, stupid. Then of course there's that pentalogy of Lucy and the Spider. But things become interesting when you head down into the basement and meet Pinter, the goth with the huggy wuggy mouth. She takes us to the LSD dream dimension full of weird trips, looping corridors, and foreboding threats. After beating my head against the wall until something worked, I met the first monster that isn't a scripted youch. The game calls it the cartoonist, but I called her Gertrude. She has hip replacement surgery coming this Monday. Gertrude can be defined by her impeccable eyesight, something that didn't matter to me because I brute forced my way past her and her disgusting teeth. Also, sometimes she just launches you and then forgets about you. Thanks, Trudy. She can also spin real good. After escaping her, you pull a lever that closes a door on her neck and letting her soul go free, or something like that. The next monster we meet is named a Laserette. His rule is simple. If he's close, get down and stop moving, or else he will totally Laserette you. What does that name mean? I have absolutely no idea. I do love the atmosphere of this area though. If I had to recount the scariest part of this game, it would probably be this place. After doing that, you take a good long look into his loving eyes and push him off the edge, watching his crippled body lay there at the bottom. How wholesome. Then there's like a branching path here, or something like that. I didn't really know what to do here, so I decided not to drop the Ancient Forest Area 12 rocks on him. Then we get to a paper world where the environment looks like origami. This guy that you can pick up is a triangle, the most trustworthy shape. Certainly he wouldn't guide us straight to our Wow, are those some delicious juicy strawberries at the other end of this bridge? Ah, fiddlesticks. If you run with a little guy, he does that. No. Okay then. Up next is Event Crawler's section with the funny Hammer Fox. He clips me through the wall, and unfortunately Venge wasn't based enough to softlock me though, because I could still die. After that we get a Garten of Banban style Roblox obby where, instead of having the bulky characters run through a side corridor because the developers are too pathetic to animate them jumping, Efix the Fox actually jumps after you. That's crazy. I'm better though. The next enemy, or group of enemies, is a bunch of spooky, scary skeletons that all get squished into a fine paste. We get onto a malfunctioning lift and watch Lucy the monkey frog rip Gertrude's infant son apart. Upon completion of the game, we get an extras menu where we can see Coaster document basically his entire game dev journey, as well as seeing models of each monster. There's even a madness mode that pits you against all the monsters you've encountered on your journey. I really like Venge, even though the game as a whole is really nowhere near being great. I think I would describe it best as a passion project made by a talented kid that anyone could play and enjoy, even if it lacks in a lot of areas besides the animation. Because look at this. Crazy that an animator would make a game with good animation. It is extremely clear that EKR Coaster had no intention of selling out or anything like that, and well, I think I said it best while live. The game isn't very good, but here's my scale of heart and effort in selling out between 3 games that taste almost identical. So now I want to judge for myself as to whether Poppy Playtime stole from Venge. And now that you've seen it, maybe you can form your own opinion. And your opinion might be different than mine, but in my personal opinion, I think that Poppy Playtime did not steal from Venge. The beginning aside, the games go in 2 vastly different directions. Things like Pinter's mouth resembling Huggy's mouth, and the cardboard cutout thing I'd readily chalk up to coincidence. The only thing that I do raise an eyebrow at is beginning the entire game with a commercial advertising their respective toy. While doing research, I've stumbled across a few apologies or responses to AKR Coaster, and it does seem, at least from an outsider's perspective, that they regret their past actions. Hey, it's me in post, a little post-editing angel, here to inform you that, you know, that apology that I just showed on screen just a couple seconds ago, it was deleted. Why was it deleted? Good question. I will talk about this later some more, but isn't that just such a great indicator of Mob Games' future? Good lord. I already edited the next bit that comes after this, so everything that I say positive about the CEOs, take it with a huge grain of salt, because we really don't know if there's some lingering resentment between them. One thing's for sure though, it is really hard to keep giving Zach Benazou the benefit of the doubt when stuff like this keeps happening. Again, most of them were kids when this all went down, and while you can maybe argue substantial character growth couldn't have happened off screen in so little time, I'd argue that that's no reason to bring down the entirety of Mob Games. Mob Games is full of people that didn't know anything went wrong or went down, or just weren't responsible for anything bad. If you want my personal opinion on the matter, I think Poppy Playtime and Mob Games are completely disconnected from Venge and EKR Coaster's work, and I highly doubt that those 2 ships will cross paths in the night ever again. If you hear this and want to support EKR Coaster, don't go after Mob Games or Enchanted Mob and unintentionally attack dozens of random artists and workers in the process. Instead, play his games. Both parties at this point have settled the bad blood between them, and it's clear that they both wish the best towards one another. I think. Now that the dark spot in Poppy Playtime's history is out of the way, we can shift our focus back to Mob Games' own projects. The first thing that I noticed about Project Playtime, besides that bright yellow store page full of cosmetics for an early access game that hasn't had working private matches for the better part of a year, is that you can play as Boxy Boo. I love him because he's Box. He's also a great source of vitamin C and dietary fiber. The gameplay loop is as follows. Wait in line for 7 minutes to queue into a match, or if you live in a no man's land devoid of sentient life, 11 hours. You get into a game with 6 specialists and 1 monster. Playing as a specialist means fleeing from the monster and completing puzzles to grab 6 different toy parts. You're armed with a grab pack, which lets you annoy the life out of the monsters. The monsters being Huggy, Mommy, and Boxy. Here's a little snippet of gameplay from my one and only match that I was able to queue into as a specialist.
Everybody here, first day alive, and then there's Choppy.
It's gonna be a monster.
I'm trying my best.
Uh-oh. Come on, the locker. See you later. Never
I
mind.
have no idea how to play this game.
Huggy Wuggy. So stupid. Yeah, Huggy Wuggy just killed me and then put me in a hatch.
Yo, Choppy, yes, my hero, my savior, Choppy, my dude. Come on, Choppy.
Wait, I'm being safe.
Come
I'm
on,
being
Choppy.
safe.
Thank you, Choppy.
But Mommy's not a tiger.
She's a long leg.
She's a cougar.
True.
I don't know if I can say that. Is that allowed?
No, you can.
Okay, cool.
It's allowed.
I was so excited to play this game.
Yeah, and then it turned out to be bad. They figured out how to put like tons of microtransactions in before they figured out how to let it so players could play with their friends. It's kind of whack.
That's very wackily, honestly.
It's very wackalicious. I just hear Huggy Wuggy stomping around a whole bunch.
I'm gonna stomp on Wuggy.
Oh, he's gonna stomp on me. No, Huggy, don't do it. Wait, can I run around in circles? Wait, in the locker. No.
You're about to get clipped with an alpha with a cold heart.
I completed 4 puzzles and got 1 toy part. I did so
good.
Thank
You're
you.
doing so great. This game sucks.
As much as I really would love to show every monster and their unique strengths and weaknesses, this game is extremely dead, which only compounds with the fact that I kept getting put into servers at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. I had trouble finding games as a specialist, but when I wanted to play as a monster, that halves the chance of finding a room since every 5-year-old wants to be Huggy Wuggy, and there can only be 1 monster per 6 specialists. After taking a blood oath with Boxy Boo, sacrificing the weakest member of the family, and pledging eternal servitude to Poppy herself, I was blessed with 1 match as Boxy Boo. And this is the part that I admit something that will shock all of you. Project Playtime is actually really fun. My time as Boxy Boo was awesome. I believe I can speak on the other monsters' behalf when I say that the monster you play as feels so hulking and strong. It feels like chasing down ants that will one by one succumb to your ferocity. Just like Choppy here that saved me in the other game I played, so I had to target him because no good act will go unpunished. Every monster has unique tools that it has at its disposal, and I love Boxy Boo because he can just grab a player and yoink them over for fine dining.
Oppa girth style.
Okay, match starting in -30 seconds. Don't worry.
Look at my boy! Look at my boy!
Oh, I'm a
Oh,
box.
he's so cool.
I'm a
Yes,
box.
you are.
Yo, I jumped so big. Oh, someone failed, didn't they? Someone failed. Oh, look at you. Look at you. Get over here. I win.
You gotta grab them. And
Carry
then,
players to holes after they're down so they can't revive.
yeah,
coming
you gotta
with me.
grab them, and then you gotta put them in the... He's like, no.
You're going in the pit. You're going in the pit, Choppy. Okay, why is this game actually cool?
They should do more with it, honestly. It's like Dead by Daylight, but with Poppy Playtime.
If Dead by Daylight was good.
If Dead by Daylight was awesome.
True. You think you're good at this game? Okay. I need to find more people. I haven't traumatized enough children today. Oh, look. Looky here. Yoink. Yes, player owned. Oh wait, downed. I thought it said owned. It would have been a good game if it said owned. just to make sure of it. Yoinkaroonie. Yes. You're also going in the pit. Oh, yeah, I can't put 2 players in 1 hole. Okay. Well, here you go. How are there more? Wait. I hear a tippy tap. Hey, buddy. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh, you poor thing.
You're being so evil about it.
Yes.
Are you
Did
okay?
I win?
You're being so
Did I win?
You won.
Yes. I'm so good.
After winning both my Specialist and my Nemesis game, ensuring a 100% win streak on both, I then closed the game, never to be touched again. I know this phrase gets thrown around with complete garbage early access games that herder potential, but Project Playtime was seriously fun, and I think if they just fixed some of the mistakes and errors, it could be a solid game. And a money-making game too, because that's at least where 50% of the priorities lie. There's also some hidden lore in Project Playtime which I thought was interesting. This doctor-scientist guy that put forward the Bigger Bodies initiative. An idea that would solve his problems of having to pay those pesky workers fair wages, and voiding lawsuits by simply creating their own life, with the ability to do their jobs for them. That has to be the most corpo thing I've ever heard. Making giant, violent abominations that God had no hand in making just so you don't have to pay your staff a living wage. The first successful result was Boxy Boo. We learned that from this tape here, and I believe the golden scenario that they were looking to create was something like Mommy Long Legs. A giant toy that acted motherly towards the children and led them from place to place in the game station. Basically, someone to oversee everyone and make sure that nobody gets hurt, which turned out very well, obviously. Seriously though, if there's ever an overhaul for Project Playtime, I will 100% be coming back to it and giving it another look. That's about all I can say for Project Playtime. Hopefully the funny cat makes it on the roster. Speaking of the funny cat, it's finally time to look at their YouTube page. I'm going to keep this one brief since I know a lot of you are here for Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. If you want to skip to that part of the video, here's a timestamp. I do, however, want to talk about these cool little analog horror videos up on their YouTube channel. These videos actually make it seem like Poppy Playtime isn't entirely money-driven, and that the team working on it do have souls. The human ones do anyways. Who knows if the higher-ups at Mob Games made their own life so that way they don't have to pay their staff a living wage. If the entirety of Poppy Playtime was a cover-up ploy engineered to desensitize us to this possibility, I wouldn't even be remotely surprised. These kind of videos do virtually nothing for Mob Games, bottom line, and seem entirely like projects done out of love for their craft. In the video titled Restricted Disappearance, June 18th, 1992, we can see Huggy Wuggy escape the facility and flee into the woods. A tracking team is sent off into the woods to go find him, and we can really see that Huggy Wuggy is kind of a force of nature, just barreling down a car and picking off people one by one as he finds them. In the video titled Restricted Relocation, on August 8th, 1995, we see Kissy get put on a train, very clearly not being very fond of trains because after a bit she just decides to kill everybody. In the video Restricted Restoration, we see a man named Thomas Clark get his body put into a baby Braun toy. Afterwards getting his thyroid chomped up by Boxy Boo. How did they fit all his organs into this tiny little toy? Then into the padded cell he goes, only without his YouTube channel login info. Could not be me. And of course, my personal favorite by far, the Playtime Co. employee safety video, where this Jolly Roger and Huggy Wuggy team up to teach you a lowlife on company safety. We get many golden scenes like Huggy being shushed, Huggy being strapped. I'd like to see the specialists with me now. Huggy trying to destroy the surveillance system, and a reminder to drink lots of water. Hey everyone, have you drank enough water lately? Better get on that. You need lots of water to stay sharp and healthy. That's all I can say about the VHS tapes. They're cute. Hopefully now that Chapter 3 is out and the game is relevant again, we can all appreciate these. Bring them back and put the cat in it, you sniveling cowards. So, funny cat, anyone? Chapter 3 is, in every single conceivable way, better than the prior chapters. The horror is infinitely better, the atmosphere is great, the puzzles are actually amazing, but all of those things completely shrivel up and die in the shadow of its greatest feature, the main antagonist. Chapter 3 does a fantastic job at hyping up Catnap to be a threat unlike you've ever seen. I even woke up one day to find him looking at me from the foot of my bed.
Do you think you're alone in the dark room?
Wait, whose dog is this? He's like an onion because he has multiple layers and you take one and you... What's an onion? Chapter 3 starts out in a similar way that the previous two do. Only instead of a commercial, it's a news report, featuring an awesome cartoon. There's a terrifying storm going on outside and our boys, the smiling critters, are having trouble sleeping. A knock rings out at the door, alerting our crew to the man of the hour, Catnap. He breathes on our boys, which puts them all out of it, and he's left there, on the couch next to Dog Day, reveling in all the mewing streaks he's ended.
Mewing is over. The era of nap maxing is here.
The cartoon was made by Playtime Co. to celebrate the release of the Smiling Critters toy line. The catnap toy being controversial because somebody at the company thought it would be funny to have the catnap toy breathe Scarecrow's fear toxin onto sleeping children. Something that I would know nothing about because I spend every moment of my life in fear anyways. You have no power over me, you little.
You think you're safe in your own home, don't you?
Be quiet. The intro then ends with the line,
Your children are not safe with catnap.
neat. A prophecy that is directly proven true because the following scene sees your smelly face getting dropped down a chute, never to be remembered or thought of ever again. After doing this, he consummates the kill by doing a sick headstand. He drops into a giant garbage crusher room, which took me a lot more time to figure out than I care to admit, followed by a parkour section that actually makes tonal sense and isn't just a poorly implemented Roblox map that I've grown so used to. Catnap can be found in many different places throughout this journey, though every time, always completely wordless. It's like a panther that's keeping track of its prey, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. It's like he has the cold, flat malice of Huggy combined with the cunning intelligence of Mommy to make a monster that you have no means to deal with. The first tape of the game sheds some light on the nightmares again and further builds up Catnap, saying that he causes horrible nightmares, violent, terrifying. They make your blood boil and your pupils dilate. Good job, Catnap.
Thank you.
Then we grab a phone with a kid named Ollie on the other end. Ollie gives you directions and advice on where to go next and has a tone that makes me feel like he's talking to an idiot baby, which is only half true. After meeting Snolly, we get our first taste at the game's new puzzling mechanics through this tower thingamajig. This chapter also has tons of these cardboard cutouts, which I think are all hilarious. Something about the way they all just end their lines with a scream just gets me. Afterwards, we get into a cable car that takes us to a place called Playcare, which is this giant dome-looking place. Playcare is the setting for everything that follows in the game. An underground orphanage designed to be a place where the residents could grow up without any natural sunlight. On my second playthrough of the game that wasn't streamed, I found this little tape player that just sits there in the air above the car. There weren't really any orange tapes in the game that could be used on it, and it wasn't until third playthrough that I realized that the thing that this thing activates is the TV in the gondola. You can even see it following the lifts as it goes. Goofy floating tape player aside, this place can be split into 6 areas, the first one you go to being the gas production zone. There you meet the completely silent Catnap cutout and a new puzzling tool. What? Intricate puzzle design? The purple hand lets you jump real good, which will be used for jumping real good. I need it. The script is f***ing awful. You get a series of puzzles that use your new purple hand and also expand on the power tower puzzles, which culminate in you half-powering this ginormous gas machine. Now you have your goal. Use the 5 other buildings in Playcare to create a battery large enough to power this machine. The first building sees the player stepping into the giant clouds of fear toxin, which takes us into a liminal space, a series of hallways with tape saying spooky things, and walls decorated with cat scratches. I wonder who might be responsible. Eventually you stumble across a ringling phone with Snolly on the other end who gives me some wonderful advice. I wonder why that may be. Catnap stalks us through the back rooms, appearing around corners and at the end of long hallways, always with a big smile. What a cutie. But he's not hunting yet. At this stage, he's more keen on silently observing you. The only noise he ever makes throughout the course of the game is a purr, which I think is pretty neat. As you near the climax of your nightmare, things start getting more and more dire. Ominous messages are written on chalkboards, radios say spooky things, ooh. And the dream ultimately ends with some educational television, featuring our favorite blue sock puppet. Hey, why can't I take my eyes off this thing? Demon Huggy crawls out of the TV and chases you down, wrapping his sweet and loving arms around you to tuck you into bed. Then you wake up. Yup. It was all a dream. This must have been the kind of recurring nightmares that the Catnap plush gave children. I wouldn't know anything about that though. All I ever dream about is Boxy Boo. God, he's so cubic. The following room is pretty hard to navigate. My only advice to you is start tilting your head upwards. In this place we find our old friend Kissy Missy looking wistfully at a framed photo of some girl. She's probably depressed looking at a picture of her old self or at a picture of an old friend. Hehehe. Get over it. There's a tape somewhere in the mix that also implies that children are being used to insert life into these toys. Ripping a page out of the FNAF book sounds pretty lame though. Let's take a quick look just to confirm. Oh, yeah, it was confirmed on an offsite ARG, so cool. Watching myself somehow solve the next room's puzzle before solving the current room's puzzle is like going through a lobotomy without anesthesia, so let's just skip ahead to the next important part. That being the grab turret. Not much to say about it, it functions identically to your blue hand. I just think this is a great next evolution to the traditional power routing puzzle. After finally leaving that godforsaken zone, we get jumped in the parking lot and I get my credit card stolen. I like the trick of the lighting here with the blue light making Kissy appear like Huggy before backing away and appearing pink again. Poppy appears and... Wait, Poppy? Was she with us in the back pocket the whole time, or was she just jogging after us with her puny little doll legs? Anyways, Poppy appears and says, "Hey man, leave her alone." Afterwards, we go to the Buggy Wuggy elevator, and I'm soft-locked. Guys, wait. I'm tying my shoes. Wait, guys, you're leaving without me, guys. Guys, completely unrelated, but Catnap is absolutely that one bro that sits there and waits for you to get done tying your shoe. I don't know how to explain it, he just is. Kissy Missy waves goodbye, and we've successfully completed the first and most annoying area of the game. The next area is the school, one of the best areas in terms of spooks. Accompanying you in the school is Miss Delight, who puts the light in delight. I'm killing myself, tonight's the night. She insists on you leaving, but later changes her mind. After all, you're a fresh body that can be dissected for the sake of education. We learn from a tape that she has a propensity towards violence and tells an epic joke. She threatens to do the same to you soon after. All throughout, we see her walking through the school before we eventually see her destroy a machine with a spiked mace. A useful little tool that every teacher should be equipped with. She also destroys this machine beyond repair in one swing, making her like stupid strong. I found Miss Delight's design to be the scariest, and her whole area is actually amazing. She takes a page out of the Funny Peanuts book and moves only when she's not being directly observed. And the true greatness of this section lies in how there are so many alternate ways to get around the school, meaning you can lose track of her at any point, and when you do, it is terrifying. And the sequence of puzzles you have to complete as you go through it only heightens the stress you feel when fleeing the school. Eventually you make it to the end of the school zone, and with it comes time to say goodbye to Miss Delight. Bye-bye, Miss Delight. Immediately after, we're given a gun, the function of which we will explore later. Actually, we'll explore it right now. Behind the walls of the Playcare is a path that connects the school to the Playhouse, a place that Catnap made a little shrine to summon Herobrine before despawning when you look away. The Playhouse is full of these little guys that you have to shoot in the face to avoid. There's an obvious American school joke to be made here, but I'm above that. After navigating the safest school in Colorado, I was unsuccessful. At the end of the Playhouse with the little guys that you quickscope, you push boxes onto these pressure pads to get through. Or you can just hop the wall and forget about all your problems. The room after that is interesting. With my dev tools, I could go out of bounds, and it looks like I discovered an entire floaty duck pond minigame that must have been scrapped during development. If I had to guess, you were intended to float on the duckies and use the grab pack to maneuver it around. It's all right behind this wall too. Kinda sad seeing an area that obviously had so much effort put into it not end up in the final project, but we carry on regardless. In the basement is a little paw print bed covered in scratches, and what follows this, I'd argue, is the most sad and tragic moment in the chapter, and probably the series.
Left to save. Not here. Lord Catnap's home, Angel. Their home. A myriad pairs of eyes are on you now. Watching, waiting, hungry. That thing. Catnap. The prototype is his god, and this is what he does to heretics. We try to fight it. The prototype's control. I am the last of the smiling critters. Listen to me. You need to get out of this place.
The voice performance given here is amazing. Dog Day sounds so resigned and desperate, but it's also calming in a way. He's like Catnap's opposite, appearing so bright and sunny, while Catnap is so dark and eerie. Dog Day has long since accepted the fact that the rest of his life will be spent down here, probably getting his insides eaten away by the little guys, and knows that there's no hope left for him. But there is still hope for you. He warns you to run away and get out as fast as you possibly can, before a swarm of little guys that were following you now all simultaneously crawl into his body, kicking out whatever life was left in Dog Day, as his body becomes an empty husk to be puppeted. Dog Day is standalone because of the way he comes across. He's the only character, at least to me, that appeared with purely good intentions. Well, purely good before the... Poppy tends to speak with an edge to her voice, like she's hiding something or she knows something you don't. Then there's Kissy, who just can't speak but was very well down to jump you earlier. I guess you could say Ollie has nothing but good intentions, but we never see Ollie, and also I don't consider him human. This chase is kind of like the original Huggy chase mixed with the mommy chase. Doors open and close around you like Huggy, and also with paths full of threats like mommy. You'll have to think on your feet to reach the end of this one, and eventually when you do make it to the end, Dog Day sits there, bewildered that he got defiled like this. That's the end of Dog Day, a character we've seen so little of that made such a huge impact. Back on the fake surface, Ollie explains that the prototype saved Catnap, so Catnap lives his life in devotion to it. We get sent to the school counselor's office full of gas and these bugs. I'm not gonna lie, school counselors is boring as hell, save for a few key moments. The first being this tape with an emergency alert, basically telling every worker to hide. Don't open any doors, and especially don't trust anyone, before the tape gets hijacked and walks back its previous statement. Hey guys, it's okay to come outside now, don't worry. At the end, it mentions something called the Hour of Joy. There's a later tape where we get mean mugged by an individual of indeterminate age and gender for 85 seconds straight. Unicorn, spooky texts, and the Catnap jump scare. Luckily, a locker full of my awful Photoshop drawings leaps in to close the door before Catnap can step in to finish the job, leaving Catnap to mauled outside. Since you got your stupid gas mask knocked off your face, you go on a nasty trip through what I have to assume is your own past working at Playtime Co. And then there's Huggy. Hi, Huggy. Hi. It ends with us in a nuclear warhead protection facility with the prototype's enormous needle fingers reaching in to grab my face. This is exactly the final thing my pet rat Cheeseways saw before entering his final resting place. We're then woken up by a phone call. Only this time, Ollie isn't the one that's on the line. Catnap has never said a single word before this point. So to have your familiar, friendly Ollie that you've come to be acquainted with be interrupted like this, banger moment. This goes again to show just how much of an amazing antagonist they made with Catnap. After the counselor's office, we've yoinked pretty much every station's power supply to charge this big, beefy battery. And how did that fit through this stinky little tube? Also, the grab pack must have some insane grip strength to be able to palm this battery like that. We go plug in the battery and beat the game. Poppy's there having a tea party with Catnap, and also there's Freddy Fazbear and Slenderman and Herobrine and Charizard and Goku, and I'm pretty sure Zinogre's there too. And they all became friends, and they're really cool, and they're strong, and they fight villains. Just kidding, this game's not brave enough for that. Instead, you fail to palm the battery for that long, and Catnap deluges the entire facility with nap gas, transforming into a nightmare version of himself. He's on a cut right now, don't worry, his games are still there. This leads to the final confrontation with Catnap, which is more of a genuine boss fight. The halls are crawling with these lanky, feline abominations, and you must defend yourself from the real one by using these steam vents. Make sure to use your Ruger to check for a pulse beforehand. Don't be like me on my first try and thinking I had to steam every cat in the state of Massachusetts. Calmest 3 a.m. at a cat owner's house. This much uninterrupted exposure to the nap gas begins to have its toll on your mind, because as time goes on, the Catnap apparitions start moving faster, making the boss progressively more difficult as the clock ticks. The center console also begins requiring more and more resources too, meaning you can't just have a battery continually pumping steam down a hallway. You'll have to do that manually. Once you've weathered the storm though, you'll get a supercharged green hand and get to do what you've always wanted to do. Pet the funny cat. The cat, so unused to physical affection, has 3 strokes and 5 heart attacks, causing irreparable damage to its gallbladder. He will roll around adorably, doing cat things before Jesus Christ himself reaches down because he too wants to pet the funny cat. He miscalculates the trajectory though and accidentally perforates the back of Catnap's head with his fingers. Hate it when that happens. Jesus then takes my cat, hey, give him back, ending the best villain in Poppy Playtime with a bang. Well, more of a stab in this case. Before leaving though, we get one final message from this black tape. The prototype.
End of log.
This time we get to hear the prototype's voice, which alternates between different people, even going as far as to perfectly mimic Stella Graber, the person that recorded this tape in Chapter 1, as well as copying the person who's currently interrogating it.
Regardless, I learn something new about you every day. I learn something new about you every day.
And with that, we put the huge battery into the gas machine, get all the red gas to the leftmost chamber, and Poppy shows us a funny vine, titled The Hour of Joy. In it, we see Huggy attacking people, Mommy dropping people, a Miss Delight militia, why are there so many? What I believe took place during that Kissy Missy VHS where she broke free and attacked some people. Boxy Boo, that's him! Catnap, who got what has to be a 300 kill streak, nerf this man, and lots of dead bodies. Poppy is pretty against death and killing, which is a brave take, and she explains that after killing, the toys would eat the bodies, which means that these monsters have entire digestive systems. I wonder how the Poppy Flower did that. We leave Kissy and promise we'll come back for her, but she starts screaming, implying that there's probably not anything to come back to. I went out of bounds to find out what was attacking her, only to find Opila Bird trying to fight Kissy to the death over who is the superior pink guy. Then my game crashed, closing my story in a way I would not change in any way whatsoever. That, my friends, was a brief and hopefully comprehensive history of Poppy Playtime. It started out pretty shaky, a 30-minute experience that I'd describe as hardly more than a playable trailer, to controversies and more mediocre experiences, to more recently where Poppy Playtime really started to hit its stride and find its place. If I were making this video around the time of Chapter 2's release, the tone would have definitely been more down-putting and negative, since at that point in the timeline, it seems like the entire purpose of this series was to suck as much money as possible out of a project with little substance. But from my viewpoint today, the controversies and the shady business dealings were a thing of the past. With Chapter 3 being as good as it is, I think the future of Poppy Playtime and mob games looks bright. It has potential. And not in that cute, fake, potential that 5-year-old Say Gartner Banban has in the Apple App Store for some reason. The only potential that series has is the potential for me to hit the refund button after playing it through to completion. There is one thing left to cover, which is Poppy Playtime Forever, a Roblox game that was released during the writing of this video. If you want to see that, come check out my second channel video over it. I'll put a link of that in the description. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Drink lots of water. Boxy Boo's my bae. Please make me a box.